Welcome, 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 Wild Wisdom Warriors, and welcome everybody. Welcome to Wild Card. Whoever's here, hi everyone. Welcome, welcome. Lily's back. Wild Card today. All right, guys, welcome back to my beautiful art studio where I am in beautiful sunny California. So it's Sunday. Hey, Yanni. Hey, daughters. Hey, thank you guys for being here. Anyway, so today, thank you. Thank you, Franco. Really appreciate you guys. I really do. So thank you for being here. So, today, I am changing things up a little bit and I'm moving on to talking about important stuff. Not so much personal today, but I'm still going to talk about what it is that, hold on. I don't want to knock this thing off. So I want to talk about what it is that we individually, on our quest, our master's quest, how we can turn things around and then apply our own individual experiences and apply them on the collective level. So today I'm kind of going to be talking about my last 1,000 days or so. I've been in silence, and so I recently came back to talk about what I've been through. And so in my last three live episodes that I did, I talked a little bit about what it is that I personally experience on the personal level, like on the individual level with my, I don't even know if I can call it a relationship. It was not. So the handler wannabe, all of that stuff that I've learned so much. And this is why I am back. And for those of you guys that know me for a while, hi, Bella. Hi. So today I am just I'm pulling my Dorothy out today. For those of you that know. So, aloha, Teresa. Aloha, darling. Aloha. So, I'm having today a little summer drink because it's sunny in California today. Thank you, Anna. Thank you. It's the art, it's the way of the artist. Okay. So, when you look at your life as the art of your own soul growth, and then you master your soul, and you master it in which way? Through where you can gain that access to that sort of, to a higher mind. All right. And this is what the fifth dimension is all about. Hello, 5D in the new age. What people have attached to 5D is crazy. What it is the fifth principle, hermetic principle, which is as within, so without. So, as I've talked in the past a lot I've talked about the purge, right? We're going to go through a purge. I, in particularly, had talked about and actually have started a series on the purge in the media that we're going to experience. And that was good few years back when I was still developing all these things that I can, from that time, and that on that time, this is how I was thinking how to help others and how to share my experiences of this individual path that I go through so it can apply to others and aid others in their own path. That was my intent. So what I didn't realize is that I also, in the previous, when I had my journal, Lily's journal was my journey to prepare myself for this 1,000 lost days that I just been through. That was a preparation. And so my higher self had prepared me for that time. And I had to put it on record. Okay. So, and because of the nature of my sort of my ancestral healing, my bloodline, so the things that and my path and my stuff, as I say, that I've collected by pulling that snowball up, pushing that snowball up the mountain to free myself. And this is kind of what this process is all about. Or I recently was talking about that. It's about entwining it with sort of nature and aligning everything to that understanding, so you can understand how nature operates, and so you can understand how universe operates as well, because those are, it's all in balance. It's all as above, so below. That's another principle. Okay. So, but today what I want to talk about is a little bit, because as all you know, my individual experience took me all the way through, including in the legal system, through where I was able to be a witness to a lot of the government abuse. And so I've documented crimes. So now, since they did drop all the charges on February 2nd of 2022, all their trumped up charges in Boulder County, state of Colorado, had dropped due to the fact that I called every officers there on the carpet, constitutional carpet. Let's go, bitches. That's basically what I did. And then they had no choice but to drop me or immediately leave their position as a public prosecutor, judge, 2 judges, 2 prosecutors, 3 attorneys, all incriminated themselves, not just in any crimes. The array of crimes that I've have documented is incredible. But what I've documented is all of them committing treason and using Constitution as a weapon against me, United States citizen. Yes, I am an immigrant. Yes, I am from Ukraine, from Soviet Union. But you know what? I am here legally, and I'm a United States citizen. Yes, this land had adopted me, but I love this land. I love the mother that adopted me. So I'm going to stand with it. So I'm going to stand with Constitution, and nothing they could trump up against me worked, because that was my weapon against them. This is how I freed myself. I called them all out on their constitutional oath. And that was the dead end that none of them expected. And every attorney up to that point for almost 2 years used and abused their system and put it on record. So that's just a disclaimer. So now, since I'm free to talk about it, since they also admitted in court records that I am a journalist. So here, again, disclaimer, based on my constitutional rights, I'm talking about what I'm going to talk about next. So here we go. All right. So let's go. Let's go, Brendan. So, $1 billion secret. So, because of who I am, I also have the right to talk about Ukraine. And because I was accused of Russia collusion and all the limited intelligence agency, based on that, had been surveilling me, and based on that, they had the right to listen to my phones and all of that stuff and attempt to set me up and all of that stuff and do their thing. And since they are like to do all of this on record, so this is gonna go on record too. So all of you guys know that Ukraine and all of this political stuff has always been connected. But what's been happening in last 2 years is actually very interesting because of so much of it has been through showing up, because as is above, so below, it's going to show up on the external for humanity to heal. So Ukrainian war, I know you guys here now, since what? After they dropped charges, right? The war started February of 2022, right? On 23rd of February of 2022. 21 days later. After they dropped everything. After 13 months of torturing me, they dropped everything. And it's all on record. It's all on record. So such a state of abuse of power. And I mean, oh Lord, I mean, I have the criminal justice here just to learn a book here, just to learn just to learn the terms, because I had to look up all the terms and everything, because my attorneys were crooked, all of them, including public attorney, the one provide, because ultimately once they suck everything out of you, then they set you up with the public defense attorney. She was just like, oh, she just went on record completely violating everything. But anyway, let's get to Ukraine a little bit. And in order for us to understand what really the war is about and what it has to do with the purge, you guys, because it's not just the purge of in the media, like I talked a few years back, we're gonna see media go through purge, and it seems like I even was saying, what I was talking about a few years back, we kind of experiencing on collective level in a few years later. And this is why I was able to even talk about prediction and provide that sort of graph to where it talks about how we're going to go through on a collective level. How can you predict this? So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the energy readings, the readers, the those of us that we call the spiritual gifts, right? So spiritual gifts and all of that stuff, in the gift of prophecy and those things that happen, okay? So but before I can move on, the one main thing that my intention was, and this is what my whole intent was with Keystone, the documentary series, was to figure out how. Oh, Zuzi. Okay, just breathe. Okay. To figure out how does the cover up of crimes against children happens. And this is what led me, all my experiences in last few years led me to this. Even my last journal, this is what I talked about, that I am intending to figure out how such a crimes get covered up in United States of America. And that was my intent. And then documented as much as I could. And it's only me and my one camera on that time. That was it. So basically, what I opened up, it was so much deeper, because I didn't think how big my ancestral sort of thing was, but it was big. And so by the time I got to the top of the mountain, and I realized that I was on the top of the mountain. But the thing is, it was interesting with all of this experience, and now to see how everything can just is going to be unfolding. And this is how a lot of time the masters that masters themselves, and this is why I always talk about how important it is to master yourself, because once you do, you've gone through this process on the individual level, and so now you're standing on the top of the mountain, you can see from that top, or as many say, you have a higher perspective on what is happening on the collective level. And so this is the perspective that I want to share with you today on Ukraine. Okay. So I'm going to look at the three sides, and you can sort of, if you want to talk about the like a spiritual, so it's your emotional, your spiritual, and your physical body. If you want to talk about, like, in that spiritual language. But uh in my for my documentary series, there is three sort of pillars of freedom that in America that the Constitution sort of provides, because like I mentioned, because the Constitution is an agreement with the land, but there is three pillars that hold up that whole thing. And this is why we have this whole three thing. So in America, it's one, it's patriotism, two, it's morality, and three, it's the spiritual life. So this is the triangle that we talk about. This is the triangle that a lot of people are talk about, and then the inverted triangles and all of that stuff. You have to understand, just like with many of you understand, that the healing happens. And even for those of you that understand the frequency healing, and you know how it operates, that you can put a frequency that is a opposite of that of the disease, and then you project it, and it just transmutes and transforms it, and it gives more. So this is the transmutation and transformation of that, or like I was saying, when you're that soup, but you got to turn into butterfly. So now you take all of those experiences and you weave it into a beautiful piece of art that is expressive on a collective level. And those of you that are artists out there, you'll understand it's the way of the artist. Okay. So in order for me, so to develop this even documentary series, I had to look at all three levels of things, right? So same thing with Ukraine and what's happening in Ukraine. I'm going to look at all of that from that perspective. And there is things that right now, which is surprisingly, when I went through all of that experience individually through abuse here in America, to experience how far has the Hitler's and Stalin's plan worked? How far did it go? Because those three pillars of freedom are targeted by both, were targeted by both Hitler and Stalin. I am speaking from a person, from a first-hand experience. When Hitler and Stalin met before the World War II, my father was one of the 7 people that orchestrated the whole communication. He was listening in on the whole thing. So this is why I have ability to talk about it, because it is what my family, my own father experienced. Okay. So there is 2 things that were planned for America, but what happened in Ukraine was the test of what they want to do in America. This is why, knowing that, I wanted to test how far did they gone, how far has the infiltration grew, how far, because it's like, how do you kill a tree? You can come and cut it off. It might even grow back because it's rooted and the roots are good. But how do you kill the tree without taking the action of actually killing? You poison its roots and you'll kill the tree. And this is what I think that many of those of us that had to battle on the individual level, because this is what happened in last 1,000 days. I had to battle. And yes, it took me 1,000 days. Yes, Teresa, it's all connected. So basically, what happens is you have to poison the root. So you have to go, and this is what your infiltration from within with everything. And so this is what, and how all of the different things are played role in infiltrating those 3 different pillars to take them down, because that was the only way to take down America. So what we can learn from what happens in what happened in Ukraine, and so that now experiencing the outcome of that Nazi versus communist propaganda, what it's gonna end up like, how it's gonna look like, and what it's gonna do to the people that have nothing to do with propaganda or anything. It's just so clear. It becomes really clear what it really is. But the thing is, and all of us will say, why are those of us who go through this growth, why are we attempted to always be knocked down? A lot of us, like, there is a trend, right? To, like I said, all of this, those of us that actually individually master themselves to where there is no secrets. When you master yourself, there is no secrets. They can't hide from you. They can't lie to you, because your intelligence level is already, you have access to higher intelligence. And this is where your soul is connected. And this is, I'm talking about the top chakra, right? And our aura now. And so because we are spirit embodied in human form. All right, Susie. All right, Susie. So now, okay, I'm sorry, you guys. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. All right, so now what's going on when what I am looking at, when I knowing that now, because where I came from and where my ancestral knowing comes from, because now this is your blood codes active, your DNA is active, and then you're restructuring your own DNA by healing your ancestral and your bloodline through your own ability to transmute and transform. So now you can fly, you don't have to crawl. And you can enjoy the beauty sort of that and see. So there is no secrets anymore. And this is why it is always been talked about, why a cult has to be on such a low level and why it takes so much abuse on all levels in order to hold that frequency or hold a group of people in on that level. Okay, so now this is what's going on in Ukraine with this war, but the way I look at things is a little bit different. Susie, everybody loves you, boo, and wish you get well, okay? Thank you, you guys. Anna, thank you for wishing well to Zuzki. Zuzki is just being Zuzki. He actually now, because every time he coughs, um, I'm like giving him attention. So sometimes he like does it just to get my attention, I think. And then as soon as I come, he's like, okay. Yeah. Okay, Susie, relax. Just breathe, breathe, boo. All right. So, what is happening in Ukraine? What we're seeing is that sort of, and what's going on is once you understand that Soviet Union was put in friction as a test to see how far they can go to put people against people. Soviet Union sort of, it's like it was that so they have this idea, right? The Soviet Union like they had this idea, communism and all of that stuff, right? But what they do, it's only possible to keep people in a low vibration in that in misery. You have to create constant misery. So the communists, they do that, but the Nazis, they're a whole different level of abuse. Their abuse is hidden. It's like, so take the communists when they are coming, when they were going, they're doing the abuse kind of, they're like abuse everybody and they put everybody in line and they put them all in sort of low intellect. So keep them dumb and keep them sort of, that's the fluoride level, you know. That's the communists. That's why in Siberia they use so much fluoride. That's the communist state tactics. Keep them all dumbed down and all of that stuff. Because what happened in Siberia, there was so many prisoners. There was not enough guards. My father was a prison warden in Siberia, so I know that too. So there was not enough guards. So in order to, so the communists, the Soviet Union, Stalin, how he did it, he overdosed all the prisoners on fluoride. So then three guards can guard a lot of people. And so basically this is what so they use those tactics. And so like, and then you look at Nazis. What happened was with Nazis? Right? They experimented again with different things. So it was all different experiment to put people into that submissive state to keep them that way. And so, but those of us that here to sort of master it, it's very difficult to master it because it seems like the whole collective is going against you. And I like I said in the past, it sounds like, you know, it feels like You have to walk in high heels backwards in order to heal yourself and heal your ancestral bloodline. and, and all of that, and structure your DNA in order to kind of, go through this life and learn what you're here to do and master it, because you have to master it. Okay. So in order to understand what this war did, you guys have to understand Ukraine, when right now what we see with war, it's what's coming up to the surface for a collective to look at these two different propagandas. Moscow, Putin, here's your communist side. On the other side, and those of you that know, or those of you that are from Ukraine, you will know, because every Ukrainian know that half of Ukraine, knowingly or unknowingly, some willingly, some are unwillingly, serve Nazis. There is a lot of Nazis in Ukraine. Okay? They've been hiding under all kinds of stuff, but they're there. It's not so much like the German Nazis. I'm talking about propaganda. What Nazi propaganda, what Nazi abuses are: experimentation, medical, experimentation on humanity, experimentation on children. So I'm going to tell you a little story. What happened to me a couple of days ago. So it's Nazis versus communists. Propaganda that is at play. It's playing itself out on the collective level. But because this is all they got, two sides of the same coin. Exactly, Teresa. And because this is all they got, they wanted to pull off the same thing here in America. Oppa! Oppa! And this is what the whole thing with what happened, and this is why I, in my Keystone documentary series, the episode 4 is going to be Eisenhower betrayal, and this is all has to do with that. But before that, there is 3 other episodes. Okay. So, but in episode 4, there is an which is titled Eisenhower betrayal. So this is what I sort of investigate for that episode. Is what I'm investigating is the Eisenhower deal with Nazis and all of the scientists that came in. Okay. So a couple of days ago, you guys. Hi, Rise. Thank you for being here. Good to see you. Good to see you guys. Welcome, welcome. So a couple of days ago, you guys, I have a meeting with a writer. Who is limited intelligence, retired CIA. But he writes, and that's his way of saying, I write fiction books. That was exactly what because I had a meeting with him, that's exactly what he showed me. He said, I write fiction books. Retired CIA. But before I do that, you guys, I gotta finish up that with the Nazi propaganda and stuff. And I put that quote in there in description. And also for those of you guys that would like to donate, there is going to be my PayPal email. So you can use that email to send me an email. And you can also, because you guys are asking me, if you have PayPal, you can just to that email, you can PayPal me some tips for Vino. I would really appreciate it. So I will put that in there for you guys, okay? But in there, I put a couple of quotes from some of these leaders of this propaganda stuff that were so in the past in the spiritual communities, you guys, I talk about how we see in the spiritual communities, how we see that, that master slave programming, how it operates, how a cult always has to, because their parasitic nature only, okay? So they can only, through occult, they can siphon the energy. That this is an art of, so occult is an art of siphoning energy, okay? Or stealing energy, siphoning, and all of that stuff. It's all an art of that. So basically, that's on the spiritual level. So what I want to do is I want to read you an Adolf Hitler quote before I move on and tell you about my experiences with fiction writer and what we talked about. Because it was very interesting and so timely for this for the wild card, because this is definitely wild. So this is what Hitler said once: all propaganda must be popular and its intellectual level must be adjusted to the most limited intelligence among those it is addressed to. Okay, take that in. All propaganda must be popular and its intellectual level must be adjusted to the most limited intelligence amongst those it is addressed to. Consequently, the greater the mass it is intended to reach, the lower its purely intellectual level will have to be. So, this is why I went investigating how limited are the intelligence agencies? Just how limited are they? So, I meet up with the writer, okay, to talk about Ukraine. He used to be a spy about in that area. Right, Teresa, rising above it. But anyway, so for those of us that can see what's going on, because we are on the top level, and we read and we have like that 40 feet view now of what's happening on a collective level, because your intelligence, your own path, you learn your lesson, you grew. And this is what happens. This is why we have to go through the darkness, because remember how I was saying, a tree, the seed has to first, the little seed has to break from the seed. It's very difficult from that little seed. Most of the time, it's very soft, right? To break through, and then to go through the soil. But what happens at the same time? It's strengthening in the darkness because it's growing the roots. And when you look at the tree, in its wholeness, the roots, they even look the same, right? That's why I use tree. They are deep in the ground, and without being rooted in earth, the tree can never survive. Yet at the same time, it can never survive without the sun. So there's always those two sort of ways. There's dark and the light that we have to master in order to master self. But what master slave does, it plays on fear. And this is why fear is what is very important for the enemy to keep others in fear. Why? Because it's like a glue that holds those fear-based belief systems. And this is your spirituality. Okay? It's the fear. So now, besides that, and so anyway, so the story. So we end up starting talking about Ukraine and what's happening in Ukraine. And the guy is clueless about Ukraine and Nazis in Ukraine. Clueless. I'm like, oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, he's such a popular and really good writer. Yes, great. Okay. Knows nothing about that side. Every Ukrainian individual that was born there or lived there right now knows the history, knows how World War II started, who started it. It wasn't Hitler who started it. But anyway, he didn't know any of it. He didn't know the history of Ukraine. He didn't know the 100 years of slavery. He didn't know any of it. So, but what happened is, as you know, mysteries always. Universe is a mystery. My life is a mystery. I am a mystery myself. So, of course, it so happens that we get to talk. But he started also proudly talk about how Reagan was so good and all of that and all of that. And this president did that and this president did that. And then we got to Eisenhower. And I go, all right, let's talk about Eisenhower. So Eisenhower was good. All of that. So I'm like, let me challenge this guy. Let me challenge him. So I said, okay, so let me ask you about this. How much do you know about Eisenhower signing off paperwork to let all of the, I don't know, thousands or how many of the scientists, Nazi scientists, to come to America? So I go, so what do you think, what do you think about that? How do you feel about that? And what do you know and what can you share with me in regards to that, since you know so much about what each president did and who was good and who was bad. All right, so anyway, in his opinion, he wanted to for me to immediately pick up on what his opinions are. So I'm like, well, what's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on Eisenhower signing the paperwork to let thousands of Nazi scientists come into this country under pretenses of different names and all of that stuff and blah 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 blah? Well, guess what? His answer was, I kid you not, this is a limited intelligence for sure. He goes, well, I know a lot. I've been around presidents, and I know they have a lot of stuff to sign. So it just gone through his desk and he probably just signed it. And I'm like, and this is retired CIA spy that now writes the books that are fiction, and he want to make sure that I really saw him doing this. I am like, all right, so the infiltration and all of that, and sneaking in thousands of scientists, and then coming up with the cover up story that aliens are coming, was all just, oh, he just signed a piece of paper, and but the other thing, he goes, how, presidents, they just sign stuff. That's all they do day in, day out. They just sign stuff. So I'm like, oh, so he just sign away American children to be experimented on, and he just signed stuff? He just signed stuff for American children to be experimented on. And then he just they just put a piece of paper in front of his face and to read that aliens are coming, and because they want to blame aliens on experimenting on children and not the Nazis that sneaked in here into America. Yeah, I'm a really good adopted daughter. I know my shit. Okay? I know my shit. I am a carpenter's daughter. I am. That's the true story. Abductions. Absolutely, Teresa. So I did actually, believe it or not, even though how limited this guy intelligence were, we actually did end up having an incredibly good conversation about those propaganda being implemented here in America. So we did, because and so we talked about more closer to home, in a way, what we talk about, and I jokingly say, but eventually, if you really dig in, you guys will understand that what happened is, to implement the propaganda, the Nazi propaganda. This is why the two parties were friction, and this is why the JFK assassination comes in, the creation of CIA and all of that stuff. Is because to start what they already done in Soviet Union, because they infiltrated Tsar military, Tsar military guard from within. This is what happened in Russia. This is why Russia fell as the intellectual power. They fell because they got infiltrated from within. And so Nazis are very good at infiltrating from within. All right. And so so we end up talking a little bit about that. And then we talk a little bit about how those sort of ideologies then reflect in two political parties that we majorly have here. So your Democrats, they reflect a lot of the communist party sort of ideologies and all of that stuff. So it's the same sort of techniques, same sort of stuff, same sort of abuse of powers, and that sort of thing. Very corrupt, everything in your face, corrupt in your face, like there is no tomorrow. But then the Nazis are very secretive with their experiments, right? They just put a little bit of fluoride in the pipe of water, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. and then that's how it goes. And then this is what happens with Republicans, is they have the little tight knit, and all with money and all with this and that, and then they have their own sort of thing that they cover up all these experiments on children. Okay, because they have to. Because like I talked about, because there's a spiritual invasion as well. And so this is why it has to be infiltrated on all three levels. This is why we talk about spiritually freeing, and then this will then in sort of, and then emotionally and intellectually but you're intellectually freeing yourself overall as you spiritually freeing yourself. And so back to Ukraine. So Ukraine has gone through this. In fact, my father was sent to Ukraine in 1948, maybe 47. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what year it was. But he was sent to Ukraine from Siberia. He was transferred to Ukraine. And this is why I was born where I was born, in Ukraine. Okay. So he was transferred there because he was transferred there to be a warden, because they had couple of prisons in this small town where I was born. And what are prisons? They're, of course, they're gulags in every city. That's what it is. So in a way, everything what my ancestors experienced, I had to go through on individual level. And this is what I went through in last 1,000 days, you guys. I went through it on an individual level, you guys. So I faced that. I looked at what's happening in American prisons. I've looked and I've documented and I saw it's a gulag. So I renamed Boulder County. It's Boulder Gulag County. So I got Boulder Gulag County. I got Limited Intelligence Agency. I got prosecutors that Bob Mueller wanna be. I got doctors that think that they can violate you and use your constitutional rights to as a weapon against you. Those doctors that I asked, do you understand what happened in Nuremberg after all those doctors were saying that they were just doing their job? Oh no, they were found guilty because you can't do that, especially in America. So but because she was paid in prescriptions only, she had to do her job. So she had to torture me. Anyway, so she had to torture me for 13 months. 13 months of torture. All on record. But this is how universe works in mysterious way. I didn't need to document, to film anything. It was during COVID. Everything was on camera. Everything was on Zoom. Everything was recorded. I had many of those hearings on Zoom thing. I call it in like this. You can record it, all of it. It was all recorded in all kinds of ways. Because you know what, you guys, I found out? They cover up, like, even the people that type in court, when they know that the judge is incriminating herself, they're not going to put it in there. They but push something they can't hear it. So they even cover up in there. So, but ta-da, it was during COVID. So everything was online. And one thing that I've learned from my military ex-husband, that once it goes online, it's considered public. It's never gonna go back. The cat is out of the bag. So, and to seeing how that all is sort of, but back to Ukraine. Anyway, so the 1 billion, who's involved? Who's involved? Let's go, Brendan. So I didn't ask Bob Mueller wannabe incriminate himself and be in conspiracy to kidnapping a journalist. And 72 days later, after a kidnapping me, they come up with Russia collusion accusations so they can freaking send their army of limited intelligence agencies to interview me. I've had so many of them trying to get whatever they was trying to get out of me. They were trying to get me to incriminate myself. What I did instead is I just got them to all admit to their crimes. I loved it. I loved it. Once I realized how low intelligence that was, I'm like, oh, this is all below Maxine Waters' intelligence level. This is my playground. Let me play with this bitches. So, anyway, let me play with this bitches. Now I'm gonna play on a bigger level. My seven sisters are here. Seven sisters of wisdom are here. You guys, I brought them up here. That's actually, they also represent seven chakras. So this is seven wisdom sisters. They're calling in Siberian folklores and all of that stuff. So yeah, remember, you guys? Remember, this is a third chakra. A third chakra. This is solar plexus. You know how Ukrainians do this thing? With flowers and stuff. Okay. But anyway, you guys, yeah, this is my wisdom sisters. Wisdom sisters. All right, you guys. So anyway, so what's going on in Ukraine? What we've seen is the outcome of that propaganda, communist versus Nazi in Ukraine right now, and that clash of propaganda basically destroyed the land, which was intended. Why? Because Ukrainian soil can feed a whole world. Ukrainian soil can grow enough wheat to feed the whole world. What they did in Soviet Union, how they submitted people on that time before World War II started, is they took all the food away from people. First, they took guns in Ukraine. Then they took all the food. Hello, Holodomor. They tried to kill them. They took that. That's what communists did. What Nazis are doing right now in Ukraine is they're bombing the land so that it cannot feed even its own people. And I'm not talking about being the breadbasket of the whole world. They're attacking the breadbasket of the world. This is what they are doing. And there is also another thing about Ukraine. And I'm going to tell you, and you're all going to think that I am totally out of this world, but I know it because my half-brother, I have a half-brother in Ukraine. He works at this factory. What they go underneath the charcoal or the coil or whatever, that thing that you burn for heat. That's in the eastern Ukraine. There is a lot of those layers. There's like the whole thing. Underneath it, there is a material that looks exactly like the one in Avatar. It's a shiny black material. It is under the charcoal thing. What's under it, right, Yanni? You're not of this world, but you're in it. Yeah, very true. Very true. So, but underneath it, there is layers and layers of this material that looks exactly like that rock in Avatar. And most of you seen Avatar. This is what they wanted. This is what they are now been digging for in Ukraine. All these people, China, Middle East, America, everybody's been there digging that. The other side, of course, is the child porn factories in eastern Ukraine, but I'll get to it some other day. And how Obama blankets end up at the child porn factories in eastern Ukraine in 2013 war. One of these days, there's going to be an episode in that Keystone documentary series about that too. Obama's blankets. But anyway, this material, you guys, and this is why I'm going to tell you this is all about resources, and they've already been digging it for years. It's been going on since 2013. From this material, you can make a metal that is lighter than aluminum and stronger than steel. There is no other amounts of those things found anywhere in the world but in Ukraine. For some reason, it is very, very, so this is why Chinese advance in their technology, because of this metal, access to this metal. It's all in Ukraine. The soil in Ukraine is very rich because, so this is why it's basically the Ukrainian flag. It represents the yellow, it's the wheat, and the blue is the sky. So it's wheat and the sky. It's all about representation of the land. So why is it that the war right now is war against that land? Because its own people destroying each other and destroying land. The biggest thing for Hitler and Stalin was how to undermine American military, how to infiltrate American military. This is why I'm going to go back to my conversation with the fiction writer. That's spy. Why is it that those Nazi scientists were all covered up through military in United States? Why did American military covered up that? Whoops, Eisenhower signed on accident. Why did American military protect them? Because that was the infiltration of military, United States military. They can be upset all they want, but I lived through their shit, so I am going to use my constitutional right to speak my truth. I've experienced that infiltration because it's only what had happened to me, because what they did to me is what they did to Magnitsky in Russia, in Soviet Union. They killed him. I survived. That's the only difference. But the abuse was on every level. Every level of government have been infiltrated already. Military was infiltrated first. And that's when it happened. And this is why it's so important for us to learn about the history, what happened in Ukraine, in order to understand what the plan for America is. Because that's fast approaching. It already here, it's already been here. All levels of government have been infiltrated. It's only up to individuals, and this is why I say spiritually individuals have to get to that point to where they master themselves in order to help the rest of the people to go through this on a collective level and have the point of view that is empowered. Meaning you healed your own root as a tree. This is what you do for your ancestral levels, is you have to go through the healing work. And this is why I had to go through. And this is why I exposed Biden's in 2019, which is that short video that when you go to my YouTube channel right now, that's the last videos in my uploaded video. It's a 4-minute video. My answer to those limited intelligence threats on my life on that time. Because I exposed those in Ukraine that commit crimes against children. And that's another episode for Keystone series, documentary series. It's Congress and Burisma paychecks. That's another story in there. But what I wanted to talk to him about is the effects of that. Let's say, okay, he made a mistake. What has happened because of that betrayal? There was an agreement signed that it's okay. And secret military started experimenting on children. Today, we have what? At least one child every day disappears in America. And that's just from FBI missing persons. How many children, and this is what I intend to find out, and this is what was my intent, is to find out how many children has Boulder County seized in 25 years since they implemented this system of abuse of children in Boulder County? How many children has legal system illegally and unlawfully seized from the citizens of United States of America in Boulder County in the last 25 years? And because I went through the experience of them doing that to me, I have now the ability to subpoena. I have to go through court, which is all in process, and subpoena the records of Boulder County legal system last 25 years. Because they commit their crimes all on records. It's just a matter of going through it. It's all there. Because once you understand that what I'm looking at, I went in there to see how, who, when. I'm a whole different, they have their job. I have mine. Yes, Teresa, it needs to be public. And this is why it has to be. And this is why it will be. And this is why it will be, because it is time for American military to clean their own yard. You can't help by bombing Ukrainian land. You can't help America. And like this guy, this writer, fiction writer, he's like, well, all these people are too stupid in America. Well, yeah, a lot of people are like that. And I said, and most of them work for CIA. That's what that's what he's like, no, they work for NSA. Most of the people that don't know anything, they just do their job and NSA, and they don't understand that they're infiltrating their every American privacy law and all of that stuff. And so he started pointing blame from CIA. CIA just used as a bad dog, as a this. It all comes from NSA. I said, no difference. It's all one same shit, different day. It doesn't matter what intelligence agency it is. It's all limited to me. Limited intelligence, because all you do is you do your job, right? So I kind of called him out on it. He didn't like that. The plan, well, it's going to be spay dust. Teresa, you had a question. Is the plan still going on as planned, or are they going space dust? We are in a space dusting process, but this is what it takes. It takes that individual experience in order to transmute it and then bring it to a collective level, sort of, for that process of not so much transmutation already, but sharing your experience in the way to where it's gonna aid collective human consciousness and collective humanity in that quantum leap. And that quantum leap is what space dusts this whole thing. Because like I said, once a magician shows how he does his tricks, nobody's going to come to a magic show, because it's not going to be interesting anymore. And this is what's happening. It's all going to come sort of to that sort of, but because we know that everything is energy, and energy cannot be like it can only be transmuted. So this war is going to show us how, and eventually you will see that the people will come together to rebuild as people. But they already started long ago. Like, remember, you guys, in October, on October 3rd of 2019, about a year before Hunter Biden laptop went public, I started talking about Biden's and the $1 billion secret and the businesses and the Burisma paychecks. And because they were threatening me in my comments in that episode on that, and so that little video that I was told you, that 4 minutes that I have, that last video on my uploads, that video is just a little snippet of why they went after me so hard, and why they looked and looked and looked, and they decided to incriminate themselves in, showing how they discriminate, and, accuse me, Ukrainian, of Russia collusion. 72 days after they had no probable cause, they come up with that. And when I don't agree with them, she threw me in jail for a week. But anyway, so what happened is, so I wanted you guys to understand why and how deep it goes, because it goes really deep. And so what I started talking about, it was revealing that their tricks and then their little secrets and all of that stuff. And this is why they're always, and like communists always say, don't ever leave anybody alive. because they will always talk. And this is why I always say that it's always divine timing for us to know what we need to say and what is should be revealed to us in this reality, because once you understand that your path here is to heal your ancestral line, this is what this whole thing is all about, then you understand this higher perspective, and now you're going to look at the bigger picture. You're going to see the bigger picture. And this is why I was talking in this with this level, and this is why I'm kind of laughing, because I'm already on this level. He's still on, defending CIA, and I'm here just trying to figure out how is it possible that the American government is so obviously infiltrated and nobody in media is talking about it. Why is that? Where is that the thing? Where is that? So I basically wanted to see where the journalism, where the investigative journalism comes into play here. So anyway, but in that journal I revealed a lot of things that were going on in Ukraine at that time. But as many of you know, there's a big investigation going on into this $1 billion dollars. That's the Biden's gift to Ukraine, that he threatened them to give them the gift or not to give them the gift. So all of that has to unravel, and it has to unravel publicly. And believe me, you guys, I'm a Ukrainian, and I will tell you, Ukrainians know who the enemy is. No matter what flag they wear here. But they're all in agreement to destroy that land because they want to destroy humanity. What they did before to submit the humanity, they stole all Ukrainians' food. They put it on the trains. They took it to Siberia and they made Gulag people prisoners, put them on the trains, and made the people in Gulag to take all the wheat that they stole from Ukraine during Holodomor. And they went and those prisoners with 3 guards, because they were so high on fluoride, hundreds and hundreds of prisoners worked there, taking all that wheat and throwing it into Siberian wilderness. This is what they did to submit Ukrainian people. Because Ukrainian people wanted to be free from Soviet Union. So what they did, Soviet Union got pissed off and they let Nazis have their way with Ukraine. So this is when Ukraine was secretly taking over back then. So this is when they did all of that, their whole thing. So now a lot of you, and especially those special ones that are in CIA, that they think they're helping. The ones that out there prep to be the master slaves that all scare you. Oh, in America, they're going to take all your food, but I'm going to have some food over here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Be mad. Be very mad, right? But nobody ever tells you that what it is that we need to do. So, but anyway, my ancestors lived through that. I know what happened in Soviet Union. And so when I see it, what happened, how were they able to do it? They infiltrated the military. They infiltrated the police. They infiltrated everything. But before that, you guys all know, Tsar got infiltrated. Nicholas Guard. It was his own guard that got infiltrated. So how was America going to stand without having attempts on its military to disable its military? But the biggest thing what they wanted to do is they wanted Americans to have that shell of the military power, command it and be in charge of it, because that's the military power, right? But they also wanted to make sure that they can turn military against their own people. That was very important to them. And this is why the experimentations on militaries were implemented. And you, America, should thank Eisenhower for that, because he signed off American military to be the experiments. Because communists didn't hide it. I have talked about this before, you guys. Communists didn't hide it. They took every 18-year-old man into military, and they came back vegetables. And this is why you hear that most Russian men would drink themselves to death, because of what they've been through in the military. And every one of those men is destroyed in military. They're destroyed. They come back with some kind of ideology that is so sick that you don't even recognize that individual anymore. 2 years of abuse, severe abuse. Look around in America and look at the veterans. It's been here in America. The Soviet States of America has been here for a while, but not a lot of people recognize that. And it's tough for me to speak this truth because it's so painful. And this is why I said, when I was sitting there for a week and I was watching, and the mothers are telling me that their children are being totally ripped off from them. They're being set up on every level. And the setups are so obvious, just to take their children away from them. And just from those few people that I met in there, I've already counted more than half a dozen of children right there in that 1 week. So yeah, I wept because I saw true America. I saw what really was going on. I saw a part in the prison where it's the other half, where all they keep the prisoners that are mentally ill. They experiment on those people. This is where my paid-in prescription doctor wanted me to end up, in that part of the prison. This is where she was paid in prescriptions to do to me. This is what she was paid to do to me, is to put me there. Experimentations of humanity, crimes against humanity. I wept for days watching all of that right in front of my face. And knowing that my ancestors been through this. And just watching it. Is it too late for America to be free? Land of the free, home of the brave. Is it really? And who's it up to guard that right? Up to each and every American. But for those of us that are not Americans, it's the same way. Way to freedom is always individual. And this is why every individual master out there that obtained their own freedom was able to implement their experience in the way that would help and aid masses in gaining individual experience. This was the original intent of Christ, is to show humanity that we are all have spark of God in us. We just need to find a way through it. Find the way to the sun, just like that tree starts from the seed and it grows in the darkness. It puts the roots down. It trusts the mother nature. So this is why I talk about importance of aligning yourself on all three levels of your being and standing in the eternity, because then you can see what's going on. So what's going on in Ukraine? They're covering up for the So the original war in 2013 was end up, they seized the kids and then they ran off people, they killed people, and they established children porn factories in Ukraine. That was that war was all about. So that's the Obama's blankets. That's the funding for that. So this is your dark web. This is involves Ghislaine Maxwell. And this is why I say that we haven't seen anything. The circus show that DOJ clowns put on, that's not Ghislaine Maxwell's show trial. That was a circus show. I will go deep into Ghislaine Maxwell connections, and we're gonna find out who Ghislaine Maxwell's father was. He was born in Ukraine. And so we're going to look into Ghislaine Maxwell's family businesses in Ukraine. So here's your Burisma paychecks. So there is a lot in Ukraine that will start, and this is why I say the Ukrainian bells are ringing. This is the time to start seeing the truth about what's happening there. Once we see it, it's going to be very easy to see it here. And because we have the Constitution, we have the agreement with land, we can transmute and transform even the legal system. And this is what I sort of intend to talk about with what I've experienced, because we can change that. And there is a French word for a legal system, because it's now taken over by the special ones. The special ones took over the legal system. The special ones. Anyway, oh my God, 1 hour and 28 minutes. Are you kidding me, you guys? I've been talking and talking. So anyway, I will go into it a lot more, what it's all mean. But you guys, thank you so much for your support through this journey. I mean, it's tough to talk about these subjects that are so difficult, so this is why I brought my spirit animal here. My this is my painting, you guys, but I want to change it a little bit and bring my jaguar here so I can because through my last 1,000 days I just been through so much, and the nature was my it was my partner through this. You guys, I have owls coming in. I had a red hawk, red-tailed hawks come in. I had all other birds coming in. I had weird experiences with, like, nature was just like, whoa, it just intense. Oh, very intense, Yanni. And so, but I am so grateful for the experiences because the growth was worth it. The elevation is so worth it. Oh my God, you guys, it's so worth it. And the joy to feel free of that, to free yourself of all that, you guys. I mean, it was my like, I gone through such a deep who I mean, it was 3 months. December, no, November. That was when I had to be stuck in the underground in the basement with no windows for 3 months in Colorado because they were so for 3 months, November, December, and January, and then February 2nd of 2022. This is when they finally released me. But I had to like literally sit in the basement 6 feet under the ground, being there with dead for 3 months in order to push through and come up with my own defense and have them to drop this nonsense because my attorneys were setting me up. They were setting me up. So and they were taking my money for setting me up. So anyway, but that experience was so worth it because to free yourself from all that, and I didn't need any of them. I did it all on my own. I compiled it all and sent it to that freaking attorney, and I said, file this right now. And instead of filing that, because that would actually, by filing what I was gonna file, I was asking her to file, would make them all immediately have to leave the position where they are at. So they would actually be fired. The judge would be fired, the prosecutor would be fired, and all of that. There was two judges, two prosecutors, like I said, they were all of them people, that the police department, all of them, the sheriff would have lost his job if she would have to filed what I asked her to file. What they did instead is she immediately dropped everything and they let me free on that day. 2/2/2022. And so I've been healing since because it's been a difficult experience. And the healing's been kind of tough, you guys, but here I am. All right. I love you all so much. You guys, thank you so much for being here with me for an hour and a half and listening to all these rants of mine. I'm still healing. I'm just talking with you just in case it's helping anybody else, because I know there's so many of you that are targeted. And I'm telling you that if you trust yourself, you'll get through this. So cheers to all of you. I love you all so much. Bye, everybody. Bye. Love you. Stay wild out there. Wild's good. Wild's all good.